Sungura ni mnyama mdogo mwenye manufaa mengi. Hii leo katika Ripoti Horizon tutaangazia manufaa ya ukulima wa sungura.
When I looked at the kind of business I can do, livestock production seemed convenient for me to do in an urban setting. So I ended up doing rabbit farming simply because I found it not to be done by so many people, and I found that to be the advantage, the point of advantage, because I can compete better in the economy if I'm able to do my work well as compared to any other kind of livestock that I could have kept. I started this in 2018, so it has been 22 years now. Generally, the whole concept, we call it rabbit husbandry. So being able to take care of your rabbits, handling them well, feeding them well, giving them the proper feeds. And if a rabbit is small like this one, you just hold it across the groin like that, so that it's trying to push itself out, but you're able to constrict it, or you're able to restrain it like that. So if a rabbit is big, like this one, you just make sure that you have the space between the ears and the neck. You grab a bit of skin, and then you put your hand below it like that. So that's how you hold a big rabbit, okay? So even if it tries to push itself, you have it under control. Never hold a rabbit by the ears. You can imagine this rabbit is about 6 kgs old. If it tries to push itself out, it's even shaking on the legs, you're going to injure the rabbit. So that's how you hold a rabbit, a big one and a small one. So usually we have rabbit pellets that are bought from the agrovet shops. We have water, and then we have hay. So hay and water should be available throughout, 24/7. Pellets you can only feed once or twice a day. So pellets, it's not a big requirement. It's just a concentrate that gives them nutrients in addition to what they can get from the plants, because the hay is not going to give them a lot of nutrients. Once in a while, you can also give them some multivitamin, okay? Yes, so that's what you feed rabbits. They don't need a lot, so you can even put them up in a place where you don't have a garden. Dry feeds are preferred because rabbits are sensitive animals. They are sensitive to problems like one of the conditions is called bloating. And another reason is because it is sustainable to use hay. If you are doing it for commercial purposes like I'm doing. One bale of hay or 2 bales of hay are enough for 1 week for about 100 rabbits. If I was to give greens for all these rabbits in my entire farm, 1 acre of greens and weeds will only be consumed in 3 days. So you can imagine how much land I need to produce enough greens for the rabbits. So the dry feeds are good for their nutrition. And when they take the dry feeds, the pellets and the hay, they get thirsty. So when they drink water, it helps in the building up of the body weight. So you want them to be in good weight when you are slaughtering them. So you want them to be drinking water. You have found rabbits in the rural areas. People give them greens, they are not giving them water. But if you look at their size, they are very small. I've taken some of those rabbits from the rural areas and I've brought them here, given them hay and pellets, and they have grown bigger. So it's a matter of making them drink water to become bigger.
Sungura wana uwezo wa kuzaa vitungule 60 kwa mwaka. Hii inatokana na kipindi kidogo cha kubeba ujauzito.
Rabbits will take, the gestation period of a rabbit is 30 days, 28 to 32. But on average, by the 30th day, they'll be giving birth. So they'll give birth, and then these rabbits like here are about 1 month old. So they are going to stay with the mother for 1.5 months. Then you are going to separate them from the mother. And then the mother will rest for 1 more week, and you can serve her again. So in a cycle of every 3 months, she's being served. Every 3 months she's becoming pregnant. So you have control of your business. So we usually say that a fun fact is that rabbits reproduce like themselves. You know, there is no other comparison between rabbits and other animals. So if you are to compare reproduction in livestock, we usually say that rabbits reproduce like themselves. They can give birth in 3 to 4 times in a year. So you can imagine. And every birth can give you about between three small rabbits, we call them kits, to around 13. Even more, some people have reported more. So a good average is 5 to 8 kits. So if one rabbit can give you 3 times a year of births, and every time she's giving you 5, then you can imagine that one rabbit will give you 15 kits in 1 year. Yeah, or even more. That's a minimum. I'm quoting the minimum. So 15 to 40 if it's a good producer. You can house them inside a big house that is covered, and then you put the cages inside there. Or you can put the cages outside, like the way I'm doing here. So we call this setup an outdoor cage. And then the ones that are inside the house are called inside cages. So now the outdoor cages have to be warm enough so that that rabbit is not sneezing the way it is. So there is a balance between having a, and then again you should have what we call a sedated floor, so that droppings and urine will go down, so that those rabbits are not in bad hygiene, because bad hygiene will be what will bring a lot of diseases in rabbits. So you have to keep the rabbits warm. I build the cages myself. I also build them for other farmers.
Swala muhimu katika usimamizi wa ukulima wa sungura ni kujua maradhi yanayowakumba mara kwa mara, jinsi ya kugundua wakiwa wagonjwa na pia tiba maalum.
The common diseases in rabbits are not very many. One of them is that sneezing. We call them snuffles. Another one will be bloating if you're not giving proper feeds. Another one we call GI stasis if you are not going to gastrointestinal stasis. If you are going to not, maybe for example you are doing sudden diet changes and things like those, or you are giving proper feeds, or you are having feeds that have aflatoxin, you are not storing your feeds properly. So most of the diseases you are going to rotate around animal husbandry. How do you construct your cages and how do you give the feeds to the rabbits? So to identify the diseases, the first sign is usually that you have not, the rabbit has not eaten for about 24 to 48 hours. So if you find that the rabbit has not eaten and it's not moving a lot, not active, just staying in one corner, then you can be sure that, and you can start being worried that that rabbit is sick. That is, if there is food, dry food, and there is water. Because if there is dry food and there is no water, the rabbit is not going to eat. But if there is dry food and there is water and the rabbit has not eaten, then you should start getting alarmed that there's a problem. So that is usually the first sign of sickness. Or some others, you can see the physical characteristics, like that one is sneezing, so you can know that is a problem. Or another rabbit will have an extended stomach, that is bloating, so it will be extended, or usually on the left side. So you're going to see that is a sickness sign. Another one is diarrheaing, that's another sign of sickness, and several others.
Ili kupunguza gharama ya chakula cha sungura, ni vizuri kujua njia mwafaka ya kuhifadhi chakula chao.
So you should store the feeds on raised ground, not on cement, for example, because if you store things like pellets, they are made of, maize germ and all those things. So if you put them on cement and there is warmth in the house, then they will start sweating. The floor will start sweating, so the food will become damp. When it becomes damp, what will start growing? Aflatoxin and such things. So you should raise the food up from the ground, the hay, same thing to hay, so that it doesn't grow molds and develop problems. This one is called a New Zealand white. You see the characteristics, white in color and everywhere with pink eyes. So that is one breed of rabbits. Here they are mixed up, several of them. This one is what we call a Dutch. You can see it's either gray or blackish with a white collar around the neck and some other white patch that goes towards the head. You have them is giant, palomino, checkered giant, and many more. There are several here. And many other farmers will keep a lot of these breeds. That thing people say about hybrids and kienyeji, Usually, if you look carefully at this small rabbit, you can see the head is somehow circular and plump. You can see that. If you take a small rabbit from the Kienyeji ones that we keep locally here, these ones usually have an origin from outside the country. We have New Zealand whites, California whites, they come from outside. But we have several breeds, and one of them that is local here is called Kenyan white. But those ones that are called local breeds, Kienyeji, they have a narrow head, a pointed head. So that's how you differentiate between that broad category of what we call hybrid and Kienyeji. So if it has a pointed head, that's a Kienyeji rabbit. If it has a round face, like these ones, those are what we call hybrid rabbits. Rabbits have what arguably is the best white meat, or rather competing high up there in the food chain of meats. Its white meat has less fat content. Actually, it has what we call subcutaneous fat. If I skin this rabbit when I'm slaughtering, you're going to see that fat is between the skin and the body. You can actually scrap it off and you have your meat fat free. It's not like in beef, you find it, attached to the meat. So that is one advantage of it, and it is very sweet, and it's thick enough, the way you chew something and it's maybe spread out some sort of meat. This is compact, so you are chewing something that is compact, and it is also what we call something that is easily available to most people. So if you are in a rural area and you have people producing animals, you keep a cow, you meet a family that is poor keeping a cow, but you cannot slaughter a cow, a part of a cow if you want to eat, and you cannot slaughter an entire cow. So if you are keeping rabbits, you are going to have a cheap source of protein. That's a very economical advantage of it. So you are being able to, one rabbit gives you 5 kits, and then you can slaughter one for the family maybe every week. If you go to the statistics of healthcare in this country, you are going to meet that food security and lack of protein will make children have stunted growth today, especially from low-income families. So I usually encourage people to keep rabbits for such reasons. Usually, this pricing of rabbits, and as much as with any other kind of business, you find that most people will sell at different prices, But personally, I will sell, it's a buyer to seller agreement, but for a kg of rabbit meat, I'm going to sell that to you at around 600 shillings. Yes. So if I'm to slaughter the rabbit. If I'm selling the rabbit for other purposes, for breeding, which is mostly what I do, I will sell it immediately it finishes breastfeeding at around 1.5 to 2 months, I'll sell that at 750 shillings. Usually the smaller ones are the ones that are usually available for sale, because the bigger ones are my breeding stock. Actually, when they give birth, you should give them the double usual portion of food, even when they are pregnant towards that period. So if you are not being able to keep your records properly, we keep records here. If you look carefully, the cages have numbers on the door. So I have a book for every house. So I know these children, who is their father, this their mother, where did their mother come from, all those details I have. So the rabbits will do that if they are lacking calcium, or if they feel stressed, if they feel like, where I am, the environment is scary, there are predators around, maybe their dog's always barking, so they will feel that this is an unsafe environment. So to protect the children, they will eat them, because they can't make noise. So they are going to eat them so that they protect them from danger, from harm. Wow. So better kill them than see them suffer. This one is grooming already, so they are very clean animals. They will keep wiping themselves with their feet, There is a balance between having and then again you should have what we call a sedated floor, so that droppings and urine will go down, so that those rabbits are not in bad hygiene. because bad hygiene will be what will bring a lot of diseases in rabbits. So you have to keep the rabbits warm. Of course, within a business there will be challenges. I think the greatest challenge to rabbit farming is the initial costs might be very high because you have to house them individually. Every breeding rabbit has to be in its own cage. Another challenge would be when you experience some certain diseases, for example, that you have maybe not experienced before, especially a beginner. There are no direct drugs that the government has introduced to the market that are for rabbits specifically. We will be fetching the drugs that we used to treat rabbits from the chicken. They are their closest relative. They even share some diseases like coccidiosis. So the challenge maybe is in terms of treating diseases if you happen to come across one. Sometimes you experience some deaths, but with time you are able to know how to prevent those deaths from happening.
Ukosefu wa ajira nchini umepelekea David Mwangi aliyesomea uhandisi kujitosa katika ufugaji wa sungura. Je, ujumbe wake kwa wananchi ni upi?
So if you are a Kenyan out there, think outside the box. You don't have, I'm an engineer and I'm not practicing. This is where I'm investing my time in. So what does that tell you? I have some vision of what I'm seeing, and I know that this is a worthwhile investment. I'm not wasting my time. So you only need to start to see its worth. Then there is the network of people who are in the business like me and others. So just start. If you have been thinking about it, start even with 4 cages. Start even with 6 cages. Evaluate the business, then you'll be on your feet from that point onwards.
Naam, ni dhahiri shairi kuwa ukulima wa sungura una manufaa mengi. Nikiripotia Ripoti Horizon, jina langu ni Beatrice Kageha.